That's why we were jumping in late, because both of our games just shut down, which was really weird. Got a virus. Thanks a lot, CS.
Classic. And in the meantime, CS is not going to really reward big in this one, as they're able to jump on it immediately. Faven gets the kill onto Tapson, and therefore Sprout remain strong.
And I'm in.
Nice.
I've made it. Just for the end of that, 1-0. At least it's a good start from Sprout, because that's really what we needed to see. The fact that you're seeing them get stomped out in the first map, it is Big's map pick, and you can look at it, you can say, look, yeah, they don't win it a whole lot, but they do pretty well on it. We had a slow start, didn't get a whole lot, we're not maybe too comfortable on Overpass in general, but now they're on Mirage, a map where they definitely feel comfortable. They played a lot throughout Meisterschaft, and indeed throughout just regular HLTV games.
You said that very beautifully.
I've been practicing, Zest.
Meisterschaft.
I'm gonna impress you.
Oh. It's close enough. I would call it Meisterschaft, but you know.
That sounds exactly the same as what I said to me. So it's never going to improve.
You said a very shaft, you know?
Meisterschaft.
Meisterschaft. Yeah, it works right. I'm going to accept that. You know, it's fine. It's fine.
As an Irishman, this is the closest I've ever gotten.
No, it's okay. Really, you've done amazing, Mitch. I'm certainly proud of you.
I'm proud of Sprout right now. Not getting second round destroyed, but at least Big Clan, they're not too worried about losing the second round because they intended it. They gave it over, taking the eco, and now they've got 4 Augs out on an M4, a little bit of utility to play around with. So it's not a bad buy at all. And both teams, in fact, come in here pretty even, if not a small advantage towards Sprout having the op, but that's taken away by the fact that Murbit's on a Mach 10. So a nice balance in things.
Yeah, right. And I mean, we're going to talk about the map pool in just a second. In the meantime, Dennis and Co. Let's see if they're going to prevail on this one. I think a quick 2-map series is most definitely the thing Big wants, because they want to establish themselves as the best German team. It's up for discussion recently, and now Tusian finds the first. Looks to get a little bit more into the position to stay arcane, and Tapson is the supporter you need. It's your teammates, don't worry. And suddenly, things turn sour to some degree, but Speedy falls down. And this, dear Mitch, is where I'm going to present you with the right stats. Big Clan played this map 7 times and won it 3 out of 7 times. Sprout with 19 occurrences on this map in the last 3 months and winning 10 out of 19.
Do you feel confident, Zest, coming into this, that Sprout have got the ability to walk away with a victory here? You think they've got it in the bag?
Yes. Yes, I think they should be able to, but in the meantime, what bothers me is Big playing this, like we're talking about it, 7 times in the last 3 months. First of all, which I find very, let's say, weird, is that the last time they've won it is now more than a month ago against X3D Max and against Hellraisers. Both teams I would rate somewhere around Sprout, so I would say Sprout would be able to beat Hellraisers and X3D Max anytime. The funny part is for me, and this is a very shocking number, when Big Clan is getting the first kill, right, the entry, they're only winning 65% of the rounds. That is a number which is shockingly low.
Yeah, I think, though, that could be very much put down to the fact that they've had 2 super one-sided losses versus Na'Vi, who really punished them, even though, you know, they play a little bit more of a hectic style, and I'm sure they offered up a lot of opening kills to Big, but afterwards, they punishing them pretty heavily in the rounds where they did find openings. So I think when you have those super one-sided losses, like up against Valiance as well, 16-5, it's going to really eat your statistics away. I mean, we saw the same from them over on Overpass, where things looked really bad for them, but they're playing against a higher level of team that can punish them a little bit more harshly. Talking about punishing, though, Keto with the Deagle shot onto Zanterra is at least getting a little bit of damage done to Big on such a low buy for Sprout.
Yeah, that was a punishment. You could really put that in as a punishment. And you know, this is a perfect round where I want to talk about something with you, Mitch. Realistically speaking, this round is not going for Sprout. And therefore, I want to know from you, do you think I sound a little bit like nothing from Cloud9? I heard it often.
Perhaps the German version. The thing is, I know you very well. Like I've heard you a lot, so we've met a bit. So I'm kind of familiar with your voice, but I can definitely see where it's coming from, though. Like,
I
can
read
see
it a few times.
some twinges there. Yeah.
but I can't do the flashbang dance. Speedy might do the one-tap dance. Not really. In the meantime, TCN just ready, but the A site is in danger. Gorb got to do it pretty much on his own, and Faven on the edge, eliminated.
I love the accent. It's amazing.
What accent?
The danger.
Danger. It really mixes it up. I can't tell you what's going on. It's
Croc in the water.
Hey, you torsa.
Mixing it around. Yeah, the other thing I would say, Zesht,
Yes.
that you have over nothing. If anything, you dress far better than he does.
Thank you very much. You know,
You may be the best dressed man in esports. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, with the shirts you wear on purpose, I think it's not that hard.
Oh, come on! You know you're jealous of that weather pattern shirt. It's beautiful.
I saw Tombis tweeting out with an egg shirt. In the meantime, shout out to Tombis and shout out to Golf finding the frag onto Faven. 4 more to go for Sprouts, and Golf can't feel it for a second. Either way, the CTs might be able to prevail, but right now it's shockingly down to only 2.
Indeed, it is. Dennis and Tizian to try and pull this back, and a round that's gone awry for Big Clan for sure. They're spread out, one towards window and one pushing on up. It's Tizian trying to catch an angle on the middle players. Now Spitty is lurking around, waiting for an angle to open up for him, waiting for someone to peek on short as Tizian contemplates the aggression. He's playing passive though, just watching the connector push to make sure Dennis won't be completely destroyed by players that have maybe come up close. And posted up with the AWP, he's definitely got the chance with 50 seconds left. Sprouts still have the bomb towards the top of middle and haven't decided where they want to take things. The only thing I would say is that Tizian now backed off towards the bomb site and forced to do so by the lack of information. It leaves them in a bit of an awkward situation where it's all on to Dennis to hold this site down. He needs to find at least 2 kills really as they push towards the bomb site to allow them to have a 2v2 retake. And even then it will be difficult to come in with the AWP. Dennis starts to rotate through to jungle or CT spawn. So more than likely going to be the save unless he can get over here and find a frag very, very quickly.
Yeah, very, very quickly indeed, but I doubt it. Not really going to see that happening at this point in time. Murbit is going to force Dennis even further back, and the most realistic approach from Big is saving this one up. And that is going to be Sprouts. Taking the number 3, they seem fairly more competitive so far. But I mean, if I remember correctly, the beginning phase off overpass, we also saw them bounce back from time to time. Either way, Big now on the CT site, a bit more CT sided anyway, so you would expect them to start with dominance. They can't at the moment. The follow-up round, if I see it correctly, Mitch should still allow somewhat of a buy. I mean, Tizian could drop a FAMAS. Tapson could buy. Xantares maybe left out in this one. It's going to be a very interesting call in the end.
You know the thing, like you said there, Zesht, early on in the previous map it was competitive, but when we've come to the buy rounds, that's where Sprout have pulled ahead and started to look like where Pig Clan have pulled ahead, started to look like a far stronger team. Sprout struggled on the majority of their buy rounds.
Right.
And indeed, even when they found them, they couldn't string them together, and that was a major problem for them, getting no momentum. So moving into the later stages, the mid to late half, that's where I start to see Big really dominating. They've got a little bit more utility to work with in this round, and Dennis again, obviously, on the AWP. A small weakness in the form of a FAMAS on Gob B, but outside of that, this should be a round that they take. And if they don't,
right,
especially with the fact that they do generally perform better on the CT side, then we can start to really believe in Sprout, as they should get a 5-2 lead off the bat.
That would be very decent indeed, and that would be something they would be most likely looking for. But either way, it's first of all coming down to the mid control, and they're going to easily take that. It's probably a very, very slow approach, which costs them some time, but in the end could be so astute and intelligent that it works in the end. Xantares towards middle might just do the wrong peek. Sirson is there to guard his teammate, and the flashbang, is that the perfect support? That's the question. Xantares is blind, moves out, but Gob strikes. And that is towards main. This puts Sprout under pressure, as now the realization of Big Clan sets in. Nothing is coming towards the B side. And Xantares with the M4, ready as always. Takes down 2. Sirson probably going to say goodnight anytime soon. I don't have high hopes in him. Zito pushes through to be taken out.
Centaurus again getting off to a good start. He finished the first half of the last map with like 20 kills or very close to it. And now rocking in 5-4. Big round from him there. And indeed, I hate the big round. It wasn't an intended pun, I'm sorry.
Go on.
A large play. An impactful one. Let's go with that. Because Sprout now don't have the best of buys coming into this.
Right.
But more importantly, Big have avoided just being destroyed. If they lost that round, Sprout would get off to a 5-2 lead. It would be a dominant one. They'd have the chance to build their economy up even further. And things would start to look very scary for the CT side. But now with that, it was a crucial round under their belt. They need to avoid being picked apart by this buy coming through from Sprout. They've got pistols. We've seen them win this. I mean, round number 2 of Overpass, they won with a very similar buy.
Yeah, but talking about a very similar buy, Centaurus then strikes, Dennis commits as well, and as the murder on site happens, the bomb down is uncomfortable. They know about a top mid player by now, which basically should give them an idea that somebody needs to be left alive on the A side. It's only him. Now go for the defuse. Someone send in first, and Murbit, nobody cares about him anymore. Talking about that, nobody cares about Murbit. So, Centaurus taps his head away. Big Clan in the lead on the CT side. There where they tend to prevail a little better. There where they tend to remain stronger. Funio-wise, Sprout even a more CT-sided team. Beating Optic, for example. And I think that's a funny story to beat Optic, actually, on Mirage. Either way, 16-12 with more of a CT focus from Sprout. It's going to be very interesting. In case Big stick to this, let's say we see a 9-6, hypothetically. If Sprout actually is able to bounce back so massively once they switch over to CT, in case it turns sour, of course.
So I think so far we've seen the majority of opening duels go towards Big, which is a big change from the previous map, where Sprout were the ones dominating early round. This time again that comes through with the opening for Dennis. Big returns a second, so a 2-man advantage, and the op keeps on fragging.
Ouch.
With Keto down, Sprout almost lose any chance to win this, as they're both coming through ramp, and Murbit's 13 HP. Searson's not much better now.
No, it could be just 1 or 2 shots in the chest of each, and story then told. And now Taps and Tizian and Centaurus pretty much trying to find the final one. Sirison doesn't even need a scope. Mouse 1 is all he needs. And now he has the bomb on his back. I think you don't want to call it off yet, though realistically speaking, he should and would not be able to obtain control. And he got to make a decision anytime soon. I mean, safe is also somewhat legit if he wants to do that, but 40 more seconds, it's not going to be the best.
Super time limited. He has to hope a mistake is made with that scope in hand, looking towards the A bomb side. If he can at least get a bomb plant down, it'll give them a better spot to play from in future rounds, as this round did take a pretty heavy hit to their economy, which was built up over the last couple. He wants a frag before he goes for that plant, but Dennis is playing pretty passive, knows that he's already lit Searson down, USP in hand, swings out, spots the plants being stuck, and a bit of a poor decision. I mean, you had a chance, right, that they weren't going to be playing from connector, from short, from mid. And he assumed someone was just going to be tucked in CT. But without that coming through, also, it would have given him the best chance of a post plant, really. If he's in CT, he's very narrow when he goes out for the peaks to stop the bomb from being diffused. But if it's planted open, he can go to ramp. He can hold long range from there with the op. He can go down connector if they happen to be both rotating through CT and have a really good chance again. But risk-reward, it didn't pay off this time.
And Tapson, here's the steps. Speedy is taking the left lane on the Autobahn, and his AMG is in this case not too fast. Has to be brake check more likely. And Murbit spotted TCN a bit intimidated. Either way, that flashbang of Faven. It's not going to come in yet. He waits it out. But those pistols shouldn't make a change. The upgraded equipment for Sprout, I would be very surprised if they find number 4 right now. The Arc of TCN is ready. Support from Centaurus is granted. And there they find the first. Keto can't even take down a low HP player as he's bleeding out of every single hole. Centaurus is going to take the rest. And Faven should be saying good night.
I like Tizian moving away from the bomb side on low HP. Yeah. Doesn't want to be taken down by just a random nade flung in or a player jumping around with a Glock. spamming towards him. And carrying over all those weapons gives Big Clan a much better economy to play from. They've got a big buffer now. If they lose a round, they still have economy to dig into to get themselves out weapons. So Sprout now will find it even more difficult to connect these, and it feeds back into what we said before about how they have looked worse coming into the mid to late half, getting most of the rounds up early on. And with 3 on the board, they still have a little bit of a ways to go before this is a decent half for them.
I mean, Sprout don't want to fall short overall. I think it was, yet again, to be said, a momentum thing really coming in for Big over on the T side of Overpass. I'm very much looking forward to, by the way, what we're going to see from Goppy on Mirage T side. And I don't know how much he likes or hates this map, as I know a few Germans don't like Mirage too much, but in this case Sprout most definitely do, have picked it and look quite good on paper with it. Centaurus just waiting back in window, and the instant punishment coming in, sees Keto, and he's gonna be, no, I'm not going in there, or is he? Waiting in the corner at least, and 60 more seconds for Sprout to now execute. On Tapson. Tapson?
Oh, okay, so this is the first time the opening duel for Big's been traded back instantaneously, but a lot of information gained. One towards bottom mid. They don't know. There's one up nice and close, tucked in there is Keto, waiting for a peek to come out from Xantares, but it's not happening, waiting for someone to get aggressive on short. Not coming through either. They're going to dedicate the defense over towards the bomb side itself, but Murbit takes down one. He knows where Gobby is as well. No support for Gob, and he's in a lot of trouble with his head ripped off. It's all onto Tizian. He was known to be towards B after boosting up the player earlier on. And so 6-4, Big Clan get another opening duel, but this time with the trade in play straight away, Sprout look a lot better. Still, Big now 8 rounds they've found the opening duel in going their way, and only one so far where there's been that instantaneous trade that led to the round win for Sprout.
What's very interesting to me is that they right now instantly go for the timeout. I find that very, very, very enjoyable. And in the end, I mean, when we take a look at Big, right? Recent events, we're talking, for example, about IEM Sydney, where they had to play with Legia. They were the 3rd lowest rated team throughout entire IEM Sydney. At the highest average damage with utility, though. That's what I like so much about Big, really, is their utility sort of focus. It does not necessarily... It's a little advantage in this scene that becomes so competitive with just a raw pure skill, that those utility things are sometimes really putting you in that spot. And, well, the recent map pool with Dennis is not that great. They haven't really put anything down to be that positive. Now Big most definitely want to pick up a victorious best of 3 to advance into a better state right here. They have a good chance doing so.
Well, with the 1-0 up early on, obviously fantastic chance builds. Again, an opening duel goes in for them as Dennis takes Ketos and Tara's over towards the connector on another. And the flashbang's over to support. This is going to devastate the push from Sprout.
This is so painful, Mitch, because once again, they can't get it consecutive. Instantly punished from Murbit. And Sirison, good luck, have fun with that. No chance. And the Big Clan... There was an immediate shutdown. It was not like it was really on the edge, was it? Only Dennis falling down. He's going to get rewarded with the op. Gob's going to pick the AUG. And Sprouts, I mean, shrugging.
Indeed. Well, like you said, wasn't even close. They try to push towards the site. They're picked off from every single angle. The utility support goes through as well. We saw the flash over to allow Gobby and Dennis to keep on fragging, and although Dennis got taken down, the trades were there instantaneously. It's not looking good right now.
Not at all.
Like, it's a 7-4 scoreline, but it definitely feels a lot more dominant than that. And again, it chalks down to Sprout being able to get those early leads into a map and then stagnating towards the mid to late stages. You've only got a couple rounds left, and Big are still in with a chance of 11-4ing it. With Sprout not having a great economy, there should be at least 8 on the board now.
Well, I'm not satisfied, because I'm honestly a little shocked how Sprout looked on Overpass. Just to recap that, a 16-6. And the funny part for me, or the funny part, I mean that's even worse. The devastating part for me was we had a difference of more than 0.4 rating points between Sprout and Big, and that is a lot. That is a massive a lot. The funny part is 16-6. Think about that one, Mitch. The opening duel rate for Sprout was positive +2. So with that aspect, and yet again, that aspect with losing, taking a round after you lost your first men is, for Big on Overpass, this is funny, 14.3%. On Mirage, even similar, 18.8%. That's bad. Period. That's bad.
Yep.
And still, look where we are.
I think the average is around 25 to 30% of rounds that you're seeing yourself lose the opening duel in that you still come back into, and that's often just because of the ability to trade on the T side. That you can take you can lose a player to maybe an alt, but as long as you take him down straight away, that puts you in an advantage. That was a tech issue there for Sprout that they called in. It was Spitty that called the tech pause, and evidently he's fixed whatever was wrong as he takes Dennis's head clean off in middle. The players are hurt up close though, and Centaurus knows it. Gonna mow them down, at least Searson, stopping them from obtaining that AWP, dropping a molly as well to push him towards connector, leaving Tabson to try and cut them down as he pushes on mid. And one thing to mention, it was 10-5 in favor of Big Clan at the halftime and half number 1 of Overpass, and yet the opening duels were 10-5 in favor of Sprout. Yeah, it was like a really weird switcheroo.
A very odd switcheroo, and right now talking about a switcheroo, Big Clan is switching a driver's seat for the passenger seat in this round. Sprout actually has only 2 players with armor out of 3, and now it comes down to Centaurus and Co. retaking that B site. And if there's a man I would like to rely on when it comes down to retaking a site, it most definitely would be Centaurus, knows where Speedy is, and now you could try to call this once more again into a different state. Speedy found a little bit in the open. Murbit crossing through. Centaurus with a bit of a bad timing, but talking about him. Beautifully taking it down 1, but they're failing to realize what's going on. Gob might call. This is the A site. Big mistake, though.
Centaurus still rotating over there and then notices that it is in fact B, but Gob's already gone. It's not a nice situation, but we said that this should be 8 rounds on the board for Big. Evidently not. As Sprout pull this off, at least for now. Centaurus is the player you want in this kind of clutch situation. Himself and Gobby tend to have the best rates, but as he walks up close, Murbit's watching this and he turns away at the wrong moment. Eliminated, taken down, and it's 7-5. Pretty decent position for Sprout, managing to come back into that round. They've secured themselves a better economy, and look at what Big Clan are working with.
Yeah, not much. Bit of an unfortunate situation where they seem somewhat trapped in it, where I expected a lot more to come through. And now the Deagles, or pardon that one Deagle and the P250, very disciplined by Big Clan to rather not say, I mean, the double digits is not important for them, rather go for the 9-6. Understandably, I mean, they could have had somewhat of a buy, right? It would be rough, it would be uncomfortable, it would be somewhat devastating. And Centaurus, knock knock, good night, see you next round, Searson. Scott might try to take that up. I don't really see anything happening right here. And there it goes, only Tissian left alive.
If you can find at least a kill or 2, it would be nice, but at least a kill or 2 with a USP in hand is never going to be easy, unless it's a pistol round. It could be a lot easier to work with. Spitty takes him down, though, and it puts it 7-6. A round that we expected to see go in the way of Sprout. We just hoped for a little bit more impact from Big Clan to at least weaken the economy of the T side, as they only really have to invest into utility after losing just the 1 player. You can see they're still sitting pretty. If they lose this round, they'll be able to get full buys in, and that's even without a bomb plant. So Big Clan now on the up and up. This has been a great late round or late half recovery from Sprout, and much better than what we saw in Overpass. The struggle starting to dissipate a little bit and transfer over to the Big side, where now you're even going to see them struggling a little bit in terms of utility coming into this round.
Well, if now Speedy finds the one onto Dennis, things are looking quite good. As this could be just somewhat turned around. Faven approaching A, which is fairly empty. In the meantime, Nothing has been told yet. Beautiful frag, flashbang perfection, speedy out, and suddenly man equalized here, Mitch.
It was an interesting start to the round with Big Clan trying to claim that top mid control. The flashbang went in, but I think it actually caught Dennis, which is never ideal. So as he went down, flashbanged in the middle of the open. You're looking at a 4v4 at least with the trade coming through, like you said. Tabson equalizes it a little bit. It still does look better for Sprout because it spreads the defense a little bit more thinly, but the thing is they've decided to stack relatively heavily towards A, leaving themselves in a rotation, but Santaris gets picked up off by the op. Tabson returns it and immediately down. And these trades for Sprout are really the missing ingredient from the previous map. Merman almost got away with that.
Yeah, he almost got away with that, but air traffic says, nah, not any further. TCN to now do this all on his own. And Ticket Booth seems to be his friend. Goes up there, sees Keto. #1 down, and Faven is the next victim, or the next possible victim, if he does not hold the site pretty much on his own. Gonna see TCN beforehand and eliminate him. Sprouts with the number 7, and could just actually take the lead during this half. Surprising.
Yeah, we definitely didn't see this comeback happening. And again, I'd put it down to the fact that we've so consistently seen them fail on the trades, even in situations like we said on the first map. They started it out 10 opening duels, but only 5 rounds out of those 15. And it's a really awkward spot then, because if you're not efficiently able to trade with a man advantage in play, when you then come down to a map where Big were certainly playing better as individuals in terms of their trades as well, if you're not efficiently trading, you will be punished heavily. Now coming into this, they've fixed that issue quite a bit, evidently. They took a little bit of downtime between maps to coordinate a little bit more, and also you got to take into consideration this is their map pick. They're feeling a little bit more comfortable on Mirage. And one that we see Big Clan losing a little bit more frequently, I think it's fair to say, than Overpass. Although they don't win Overpass in general, they're always a close game, whereas here we definitely see a lot more one-sided affairs against Big.
Yeah. Oh, and now I'm very much looking forward to see if Big is going to prevail and have that one-round advantage. Yet again, I have to point it out, pistol rounds are not really something they're so good at. So if you want to stop the momentum, you definitely want to find that one-round advantage and accept defeat in the pistol. In the meantime, Big are only down to 4. The bomb very publicly in middle, and Dennis seemingly eliminated 2 of Santaris found in the meantime. A is free. As taps and taps away one after another, after another, after another. I think we have evidently an 8-7 for Sprout coming our way.
Well, it really should be, unless it was a huge turnaround. Tizian's only got a Deagle and armor coming up behind. Plenty of time to get that bomb plant before he's anywhere near able to contest. And I think at this point, the half should be all but over. He's spotted in the open, Deagle in hand, not able to catch it. Murbit takes him down through the wall to put it 8-7. And what a recovery it's been, I gotta say. Sprout have really impressed me coming into this. They've changed completely from what we saw on map number 1, whether it's been in the trades, the opening duels that they're following through on the victories in, and just the general late round when they come into buy rounds. They've been playing so much better than what we saw in Overpass. And I think you can put that down to a little bit more comfort here, perhaps.
Very much. It felt that Sprout was uncomfortable on Overpass, which is not what you want to see. Big Clan is definitely not a T-sided team. So it comes down to an overall prevailing performance. I'm not quite sure if that's happening, though. We're going to see. In the meantime, Santaris online again on a 120 ADR over the course of 15 rounds. With Funio-wise, even the highest amount of enemies flashed. Things have turned around though for Sprouts. Speedy leading the way as he's the usual IGL with that. And now we might just see even more utility damage coming in from the Sproutlings. A thing that I find disappointing though so far is both Faven and Sirason. Murbit stepping up his game, though he's more in that lurking sort of role from time to time. He's up with 15-9. And let's see if the one on the bottom of the scoreboard is actually coming up again.
I think the fact that we're seeing a pretty slow performance from Searson kind of highlights what we underlined on Overpass. The fact that, yes, it was easy to look at the scoreboard and say, well, he's got 15 kills. He's playing really well.
Yeah.
But after the first 5 or 6 rounds, he found no opening duels. Most of the kills he had were when he was trying to save his weapon and they hunted him down to try and eliminate it. And they pushed him one by one. He was able to isolate the angles and take down a couple of players. But And although that did the damage to the economy of Big Clan, in terms of actually winning the rounds, opening them up, there was very little impact after the first 5 or 6. And that's something that we commented on. Moving on to this map, that seems to remain the same as, again, early round, not too much to be said from him, as he's sitting 5 for 11 right now. And big recovery, though, like you said. You've got the likes of Spitty. You've got Murbit up there as well, having themselves fantastic performances. And it's a very unusual thing to see Favin actually having a bit of a slower game.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate to see Favin having a slower game, as I personally always think that he's the man to watch out for in the future. He's one of the best players to ever see. And oof, okay, good night, Gop. That's him already taken out. Takes a lot of damage from the flames. Either way, now the Glocks make it over on the B side, and they'll swiftly approach. Tapson and Co. definitely want to find a frag. He taps away the first. Zero downing Centaurus with the Glock as well, but they don't know about a player to his right-hand side. Murbit is whiffing, and suddenly Faven to be the last individual to turn things around. We just highlighted him, and now he needs to prove that he's worth that slot in Sprout. I mean, he proved it many million times, but now he needs to let his team advance. TCN to be taken out, and he kills him. All that was needed. And Faven with number 9, Sprout, getting further and further.
Sprout at this point, I mean, 9-7 up. This is a spot I definitely didn't expect to see coming through all too soon. As Big were walking away with a 7-4 scoreline in what felt like a really dominant mid-round or mid-half. But now, as they're back ahead, they don't face off against a full bite. Once more, we're seeing Big Clan go in with a weaker investment, just taking out a couple P250s to see if they can maybe rush a bomb site and get a plant. A little bit of economy damage along the way. Their objective in this round, first of all, don't die to SMGs. Secondly, get the bomb planted. And thirdly, see if you can find any kills. And they're already getting checkbox number 3 ticked off.
Thank you for the checkbox, Mitch. In the meantime, it's Keto who finds all the long-range frags. Sounds like a very logical guide you just provided. In the meantime, oops, he's taking down another, and that's 2 out of 5 dying. A bit painful for Sprout on the CT economy, especially considering this is an eco from Big, but logically, not much happening. Murbit to take him out. And so, there you go.
It's not the worst spot, really, for Sprout, because the 2 players they lost were the SMGs. They managed to upgrade them back and take the FAMASs through to the next round. So it could certainly look a whole lot bleaker. But they do have to upgrade slightly into this, as they know they're going to be up against the AKs. So the economy damage is going to be definitely visible. As you're going to see Murbit unable to buy in the next round. Keto struggling a little bit, if they lose this, that is. Big come in with an advantage in terms of the rifles. The SG again out on Gob B. He was pretty effective on this over on the terrorist side of Overpass. But back then it was consistently he was catching the flankers off. I feel like we'll see a lot less of that kind of aggression on Mirage, so he'll have to use it a little bit more offensively. Then again, he had that 4K clutch round, so he's definitely competent in that aspect as well.
I very much like to see that Gob is a fan of the SG553, or the Krieg, as some might say. As in the meantime, Big takes their time. They have not really made themselves present anywhere yet, and it's obviously yet to come. Big plays from big players. And that clock is not in favor of the crew of Tapson. TCN sneaking through middle. Faven very ready for Xantaris. And this is the silence before the storm starts to hit.
And they still have so much utility to use up as they push towards this site. Already being deployed over there. They're going to 3-man split through middle. And Palace actually sending nobody in ramp. That's an interesting choice. Favin could get a lot of damage done here from underwood. Speedy's caught inside the smoke, though, and that's an awkward player to lose to open it up.
Oh, and this is so unfortunate. Faven up on the ladder, trying to go up and down. Keto, expected by Gop, but he's not going to find them nevertheless. Spump to be planted. And they should know that all the remaining Sprout players aren't short because of the boost we've seen. And there you go. Easily done.
The big problem there is as soon as Spitty falls, he's smoked off. He's inside the smoke. He's spammed. Zantares takes him down, and the second that he dies, the player Underwood has no support. He's worried about the players dropping on him, peeking top ladder, and indeed, more importantly, the ones coming in from jungle. He's forced to take that fight. Once he dies, Dennis takes him down, continues to aggress towards CT, where the final remaining A defender is, and he falls as well. One by one, they fall without the potential to peak, because that defense was entirely based around Spitty stopping the connector pushes out. They had a player in position to stop ramp, but they didn't send anybody through ramp, so he was pretty much useless, with a small bit of emphasis on the fact that he could defend the top of the ladder, but Fathom was still left massively open, trapped essentially in a box. And so the round just went to Big Clan because of Spitty falling, pretty much. And I wouldn't even put that down to him. He didn't peek through the smoke. He just got spammed. And it's one of these unlucky situations. But at the end of the day, that's enough to cost you.
Yeah, and I like the approach here from Sprout, that they stick to the 2 rifles and don't buy back in. I mean, they could have done that with something like MP9s or similar sort of submachine guns, but Faven is hungry. He's smelling the prey, and knock knock. How you doing, Tapson? You're out. Sprout with the entry by just a single deagle. This tastes bitter, but that's 1 rifle out. And so Sprout overall on the back foot, and not just by a bit.
Oh, the close range fight almost goes their way. A trade at least to come through.
Damage.
Yeah, it's decent damage on the Zantares as well as the trade. It gives the pistols a fighting chance. Certainly Favin on the Deagle at least.
Certainly, but as Sprout was so focused on the A side, Gob probably says, guys, we go B. Reasonable and understandable, and so only 1 real opponent is awaiting him there. That's going to be Murbit. The man has full armor on himself with a FAMAS. It's not that unrealistic this could work, because take a look, if they go through short and Faven rotates in time, he's coming through connector, or window alternatively. Uh-oh, this is dangerous. Oh, this is dangerous. No, got to be kidding me. And this hurts. Gob once we're going to clutch it out. Faven has found the entry with just the Deagle. And Gob's going to commit. Gob is going to commit. And he probably does not know where he's coming from. Faven turns this one around. Big was having the upper hand.
I mean, Murbit does so well to trade out early round towards A. Also doing the damage to Zantares, who was taken down later. But right there in the end, that short hold, there is no way that should have went to him. As soon as he spotted, I thought he would lose the first fight. Then they swing out to trade. No chance there either. And although they eventually take him down, I mean, it's just not enough when you have to commit to that bomb plan. Favin, already being close, has plenty of time to locate himself into a position where he can catch you off guard as you try to exit that site. What a fantastic round from Sprout, and one that we didn't expect to see them have any chance. I mean, they were behind by quite a bit as we moved into the round, but trading it back and forth, and again, a factor that was really missing from their overpass, and is now starting to come through for them.
That's so devastating, really. Big Clan, they might collapse on Mirage, but, I mean, we're far away from seeing that one happen, and yet, as they take their time, again, full buy, all the weapons in their hands. The problem that might occur after this, right, is Big will be in a situation where they are, well, bankrupt, I think is a very good word, isn't it? They will be pretty much bankrupt in case they're losing that.
I think it's fair to say bankroll would be pretty damn low. It's a super crucial round. And Sprout coming into it with full scopes. It's one that looks towards them with quite a lot of favor. The problem is, I think Big, at this point, not taking any mid control. Once they throw over this utility, the fact is they can't really afford to rotate to A unless they go through T-spawn, and that would be quite time-consuming. They pretty much are forced to commit towards this B bomb site, leaving Murbit to hold down from bench, and he's got a favorable angle with that AUG.
Yeah, some degree. I mean, he's forced out, though, and Dennis might be finally able to strike. His op is somewhat disappointing. Talking about it, Murbit next up, and still not finding the kill. It's gonna be problematic because his AUG is so good at the moment. Speedy the support you need, and Tapson has not the slightest clue. That's smart, that intelligent, and that's pivotal. Big Clan might fall, and they do overall.
12-8. My God, Sprout are really starting to pull this back. Big Clan being locked out of that round almost guarantees the 13th. And then they're on the home stretch. I mean, big of a lot of pressure on them right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see them maybe take a timeout now and discuss what they want to roll with. Or perhaps after this round. Although they might go with the old strategy. Use rounds like this, spread out, look for kills, play it slow, and talk over your tactics in the meantime. Although they've got pauses to use, so I wouldn't be surprised if one comes in after this.
Well, I mean, I would love to see some juicy Deagle taps. Realistically speaking, not happening. Funny story in the meantime, Sirson is still quite low when it comes down to impact, as he himself is, well, and that's the funny part, the lowest KAST on the entire server. 50% of kills, assists, survives, and trades, which is not a lot, especially considering he's the AWP player. In the meantime, Big is just trying the best to take the crowbar and pry open any sight. If that's going to work is a different sort of story. And they're hungry, at least for one or two.
Sprout are playing this passive, though. They're not offering up those chances. Usually by now you would have seen at least one or two peeks towards middle, but Sprout know what they're up against, and they've seen the Deagles from Big before. I am surprised, though. So far we've only seen Searson find 1 kill since this half began. And that's not really the ideal way to have your Opper playing. You're investing a lot into him in terms of hardware and getting very little return for it.
So, Faven desperately looking to finally take them down. One found, that's nice to have. TCN is hungry, and if they now even find Sirson, this would be a plant pretty much granted, but the short player arrives, TCN on a pedestal, they push through CT, and that's a safe plant, and TCN is hungry! This man using his claws that are so sharp, but Mermit takes a drop at opponent Centaurus, hardly stands a chance with 31 points of health. And as the flashbang and everything comes in, he should be eliminated anytime soon. But that's major damage either way.
Oh, what a round from Tizian. They're coming through with 3 kills on the board. Not a player that you normally look to make those kind of big individual plays, but right now he's certainly starting to climb up the scoreboard. And a very important one, because Sprout were in danger, or Big were rather, in danger of allowing Sprout's economy to flourish out of control. But with the reinvestment coming into this round, they're at least kept somewhat modest, to the point that, again, if Big can manage to win this round, they start to close that gap in and probably get double digits, as Sprout would be forced into a bit of a weak buy. If they wanted to buy up, I think it would probably just be an eco. So, but Big are in the same boat, right? They don't have a lot of cash. If they lose this round, especially without a bomb plant, then Sprout are pretty much home free.
They are. They 100% are, and this is one where the tendency in the stats does not lie. Sprout being so CT-sided, Big Clan being also more CT-sided, is definitely telling us somewhat of a story. And yet again, oof, there we go. Sirson out. We talked about him. He fails to really impress. And that leaves me somewhat gutted, as he is one of the biggest AWP hopes in Germany. I mean, could be called the #1 op if you see it that way. Dennis failing, talking about another op, to get his shot done, and the nades nearly gets him. Either way, TCN opens up a gate. He does. And that B site might be open for business now.
Oh, they're rotating over, but lots of utility usage towards B is only a fake. Spitty's at least spotted out Santerra's over towards the palace as they look to push on forward. Flashbang goes through, Spitty's turning back around, but he's taken down, his head torn off. And even despite low HP on a couple of the Big Clan players, they'll achieve a bomb plant here. And what should be, to be honest, a save from Sprout. If they can carry these weapons forward, they leave themselves in with a good chance of getting a full buy in the next round. But Gobby getting aggressive, though, that could be in danger. As Keto's eliminated, it leaves it all onto Favin. 1v4. And again, going to try to save this weapon forward, I think. If they had went for it in a 2v4, they would have had somewhat of a chance with Dennis being lows and Towers and Gobby as well not being too healthy. But the thing is that they don't have that exact information. And saying, oh, I hit one low is never 100% accurate.
Yeah, you sometimes get debated by your teammates. It's the worst feeling. Either way, big clan on the 9th, and the big boys. I mean, they can perform the comeback. The matter of fact is, Sprout in this one only got one rifle. That's Faven. We already saw the pistols prevail previously, and leaving a big clan disappointed with themselves. The 10-9 at part of the 10-13, inevitable. I would say it has to be inevitable. From that point on, Sprout got a bye yet again. So 10-13, Sprout on the bye. And in case Sprout is losing the 10-13 situation, then things start to look a bit more sinister for Speedy and his crew, because then the momentum is gained, the economy is looking weak, and Big might capitalize on that. But this is a lot of hypothetical scenarios pretty much glued together. First of all, we need to go for round number 23.
I'm curious with the pause coming through from the T side. Sprout are also going to be discussing how they're investing. I mean, Searson and Murbit still haven't bought up. Presumably it's going to be pistol armor, but they could decide to go just completely overboard and buy up rifles. I hope that doesn't come through, especially with Spitty already having himself a deagle. This is the kind of scenario where maybe he could take out a scout and play alongside his teammates if they were full forcing. But again, pistol armor is probably the best thing to go for. Searson's not invested at all. He just wants to keep the USP, same as Keto. But I would have preferred to see him maybe buy 2 P250s, drop one over to Keto, and give them a fighting chance coming into the round.
Oh, and this is a worrying aspect over there on the ramp. Tapsendo seems ready. There they come. First found, second nearby as well. And Speedy is going to be flashed off. And then situation to be cleared out. Yeah. The jump hurt? I'm not so sure about it. I'm not so sure if they're aware of Speedy being nearby. Either way, Big Clan should have no real struggles to now show us what they're made of. Centaurus saw Speedy. And then an inevitable A-site push by perfection, as no real obstacles stand in the way. Yeah, Sprout's pretty much falling down this one. Nothing to recover.
With Fabin losing the AK as well, that's all the damage dealing pretty much out of the question. Murbit's stuck in CT. They shouldn't be pushing him. Obviously, there's close range angles on offer there, so they want to make sure that they keep him at range. Bobby doing a decent job of that up against the USP. Now they're pushing through. Tapson's getting aggressive all by himself. This is risky. I mean, if Murbit was tucked in close right there, he could have been taken down. Same thing happens to Gobby. Gobby at least had support, though, so the trade went through. But again, you know, Tapson going down through CT, he could get taken out by the 5-7. Rifle picked up. Go for a save. Gobby would probably intercept in through jungle. But again, you're fighting through the kill hole. It's never ideal. It could have went awry. And I'd prefer to see them, especially playing from behind, making much tighter decisions. You want to play your cards closer to your chest when you're behind like this, and make sure you're not giving any opportunities over to Sprout, because they only need one.
Yeah. Talking about you need one? Jesus Christ, Dennis! You could call that a bit cocky, couldn't you? And now Faven could be the game changer to seal the deal. Tissy and Blind, Searson is the perfect supporter in this. And that seems from a blithe aggression over on the A side to a big problem occurring at the same position. Big Clan tend not to retreat anymore. I still am not 100% satisfied. And Xantares sees Faven. He's going to be taken out. First casualty on the side of Sprout, but I don't have any high hopes anymore. This needs to be a by-the-book performance. A by-the-book performance from Xantares. But now it's only down to Tapson.
1v3, there was a time that you'd look towards him and say, well, he's got this in the bag, but so far hasn't been having the best of games, and caught out by a 3-man peak. Certainly not a situation that gives you all too much favor. 14-10. Big Clan behind by quite a bit. They've got another full buy in them, but they can't keep this up for too much longer.
I simply didn't like this so much because it didn't seem that astute, right? I would expect not a rudimentary approach to the A side where you go as fast as possible. Sprout had the upper hand in this, and no real surprise actually, because they themselves are a fairly structured team. And I mean, this is the last breath of a nearly dead body. And I mean, the entry from Dennis, for example, very cocky, very aggressive, and that didn't pay off. Now the mid-op is taken care. That is gonna be Searson, and I got no further hope for Big, unfortunately. As I say it, shouldn't have done it. Oh, but
Keto's going to catch them off at least as Antares goes down. He knows Tizian is close. Nade goes through, but it's not even needed. Spitty does all the damage by himself. putting it into a 2v4 in a position for Big Clan that actually started to look pretty good. But no longer. Dennis is at least holding the angle. Drops down, though. I think he lost his footing.
Yep.
And that's a 1v3 now. An unfortunate situation. Gobby has to pull it back again. It will be a 4K on the SG for the second time, rather. Smoke towards connector allows him to take this peek and isolate Keto. Very well played, but the spam through the smoke is superior from Murbit. And so 15 to 10. Again, this is going to be Sprout on map point. You still got the decider left over. That's Dust 2. A map with a similar playstyle to this. And I'm curious at this point. I mean, Sprout came into this with no faith from us. We thought it was going to be an easy peasy victory for Big Clan, but
right.
It's definitely swapped around. Once they're on a map, I suppose, where they're a little bit more comfortable, they're looking a lot better. And we thought this coming in, right, Sesh? We said it would probably be a 3-map series, but I don't think we really expected it after the performance from Sprout on the first map.
Yeah, exactly. The first map I expected to be a lot tighter. It all turned around when sides are being switched. Big Clan did a few mistakes also towards the end of their CT side, which cost them in the end a possible double-digit half where things would have looked a lot less sinister. Talking about Dust 2 and giving you a little preview here, Mitch. The win percentage in the last 3 months on the follow-up final decider. 25% win ratio, Big Clan, 75 Sprout. And the competition from Big Clan is still Na'Vi, Astralis, and Co. Yet again, not those convincing performances, and now we gotta see if they'll bring it to overtime and buy a ticket to stay alive a little longer, or if Sprout just played by the book.
Well, early on, I'm curious to see how Sprout changed their setup, already going for a little bit of mid-aggression. Getting the info that nobody's there, they bail back a little bit, holding bottom mid. An interesting setup in general, one we haven't seen Sprout go to all too much, just on Mirage in general. Spitty playing towards bottom mid, making sure no one comes in through underpass. They've got 3-man stack towards B, but watching the cross is Searson, so he's still a little bit dedicated towards that A-bomb side, helping as they take down Dennis on the cross. But Big, with just a couple of smokes, have managed to claim almost complete control, looking to get the bomb plant there as Thompson was in the sights of Searson for just a second.
Scop. He's waiting this out, certainly but steady. I don't really think Sprout should struggle too much. Tesian's Lurk is nice to have. Gotta meet Keto. Oh, but Searson got his back. Speedy is chiming in as well. 2 more rifles, and Xantaris and Gob, the Turkish duo, to now turn things around. It's only Xantaris, and he's down and out. We got a 16 to 10. Sprout done it. They brought it through, and this defuse is just gonna be hardly enough. Nevertheless, GG to Sprout. Map number 3, we're gonna